The shrill ring of Karen's doorbell echoed through the quiet suburban cul-de-sac. She flung open the door, ready to unleash her trademark passive-aggressive rage. But the sight that greeted her stopped her in her tracks. There, on her pristine welcome mat, lay a plain brown package. Karen stared at it, jaw agape. This wasn't one of her precious online orders. She remembered every single item she had coming. Narrowing her eyes, she glanced around furtively before snatching up the box. Finally, those incompetent delivery people got something right for once, she muttered, slamming the door behind her. Ripping open the package, Karen paused. Something was off. The contents didn't match any of her recent purchases. Digging through the packing material, her fingers closed around a small, unfamiliar device. She held it up, squinting at the blinking LED. What in the world? A sharp rap at the door made her jump. Shoving the device into her robe pocket, she hurried to the entryway, plastering on her most condescending smile. "Yes, how can I help you?" she said, yanking the door open. A young man in a crisp uniform stood on her doorstep, clipboard in hand. "Ma'am, I'm from Same Day Courier. We've had some issues with a missing package, and I was wondering if you might have received it by mistake." Karen's smile twisted into a sneer. "Issues? Well, I'll have you know, young man, that your incompetent delivery people just dropped a random package on my doorstep. I was about to call and complain, actually." The courier's brow furrowed. "I see. And would you happen to have that package with you?" "Of course I do." Karen snatched up the box and thrust it at him. "Here, take it and be on your way. And tell your manager I expect some compensation for the inconvenience." The courier accepted the package, his expression wary. "I'll make sure to pass that along, ma'am. Have a good day." As the courier hurried back to his van, Karen slammed the door, muttering under her breath. Fishing the strange device out of her pocket, she examined it more closely. It appeared to be some kind of tracking device with a flashing light and a small antenna. "What on earth?" she whispered, her mind racing. Who would send her a tracking device? And in a random package, no less. Sudden panic gripped her. Was she being monitored? Followed. A chill ran down her spine as she imagined hordes of unsavory characters lurking in the shadows, waiting to pounce. Gripping the device tightly, Karen marched to her kitchen drawer and rummaged around until she found a roll of aluminum foil. Carefully wrapping the tracker, she muffled the blinking light. There, that should do it. No more being spied on in her own home. Satisfied, Karen returned to the living room, her mind whirring. She needed to get to the bottom of this. Snatching up her phone, she scrolled through her contacts until she found the number she was searching for. "Hello, Frank. It's Karen. I need your help with something." Frank listened intently as Karen recounted the strange package delivery and the mysterious tracking device. His brow furrowed with concern. "That's really weird, Karen. Do you have any idea who might be trying to monitor you?" he asked, his voice low and serious. Karen paced the living room, chewing on her lower lip. "No, not a clue. I mean, I know I have a few, shall we say, difficult neighbors. And there was that incident with the HOA last year. But a underscore tracking device underscore. This is something else entirely." Frank hummed in thought. "Well, the first thing we need to do is get that thing analyzed. See if we can figure out where it came from and who it belongs to." "I already took care of that." Karen reached into her pocket and pulled out the foil-wrapped device. "I wrapped it in aluminum foil to block the signal. Didn't want whoever's watching me to know I found it." Frank nodded approvingly. "Good thinking. The next step is to take it to my buddy over at the police station. He can run some tests, see if we can trace it back to the source." Karen's eyes widened. "The underscore police underscore? Oh, I don't know, Frank. What if they get involved and it causes a big mess? You know how they are." "Look, Karen, This is serious. If someone is stalking you or trying to invade your privacy, the police need to know about it. They can launch a proper investigation and keep you safe." Sighing, Karen nodded reluctantly. "All right, fine. But I want you there with me. I don't trust those officers as far as I can throw them." Frank chuckled. "Deal. I'll come pick you up in an hour. Just hang tight until then, okay?" "Okay." And Frank? Karen's voice dropped to a whisper. "Thank you. I really appreciate you helping me with this." "Hey, that's what friends are for," Frank replied warmly. "I'll see you soon." As Karen ended the call, a wave of relief washed over her. Finally, someone who understood the gravity of the situation and was willing to help. She glanced down at the foil-wrapped device, her stomach twisting with unease. Who was watching her, and why? The thought of being targeted, of having her privacy invaded, made her skin crawl. Well, whoever was behind this was in for a rude awakening. Karen Carla Fitzpatrick was not one to be trifled with. Squaring her shoulders, she tucked the device back into her pocket and headed to the front door, ready to confront this mystery head-on. The drive to the police station was tense, with Karen fidgeting nervously in the passenger seat as Frank navigated the busy city streets. She kept glancing down at the foil-wrapped device, her grip tightening every time the light flickered beneath the makeshift shield. When they finally pulled into the station's parking lot, Karen took a deep breath, steeling herself for the confrontation ahead. "All right, let's do this," she said, her voice trembling slightly. Frank placed a reassuring hand on her arm. "Hey, it's going to be okay. I'll be right here with you the whole time." Karen nodded, mustering a weak smile. Together, they strode into the station, Karen clutching the device close to her chest. The officer at the front desk looked up as they approached, his expression neutral. "How can I help you folks today?" he asked. Karen cleared her throat, trying to sound confident. "Yes, I'd like to speak to someone about a possible stalking case." The officer's eyebrows raised slightly. "Okay, let me get a detective for you. Have a seat over there, and I'll be right back." As they waited, Karen fidgeted nervously, her eyes darting around the busy station. Finally, a plainclothes detective emerged from a nearby office, approaching them with a friendly smile. "I understand you have a situation you'd like to report," he said, gesturing for them to follow him. Karen glanced at Frank, who gave her an encouraging nod. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward. "Yes, detective. I received a package at my home today that contained a tracking device. I'm concerned that someone may be monitoring me." The detective's expression turned serious. "I see. Can you tell me more about the package and the device?" Karen quickly recounted the events, handing over the foil-wrapped tracker. The detective examined it closely, his brow furrowed in concentration. "This is definitely a GPS tracker," he murmured, turning it over in his hands. "Do you have any idea who might have sent this to you?" Karen shook her head. "No, I have no clue. I mean, I have some difficult neighbors, and there was an incident with the HOA last year, but I can't think of anyone who would go to these lengths to harass me." The detective nodded thoughtfully. "Okay, well, let's see if we can trace this back to the source. I'll have our tech team take a look and see what they can find." He gestured to a nearby officer. "Jenkins, can you take this to the lab and have them run a full analysis on it?" The officer nodded, carefully accepting the device. "Yes, sir. I'll let you know what we find." The detective turned back to Karen and Frank. "In the meantime, I'd like you to file an official report. We'll need to get all the details and open an investigation." Karen felt a surge of relief. "Thank you, detective. I really appreciate you taking this seriously." The detective smiled reassuringly. "Of course. We take all reports of stalking and harassment very seriously. Let's get this sorted out." As they followed the detective to his office, Karen felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. Finally, she was getting the help she needed to put an end to this nightmare. The investigation moved swiftly, with the police tech team working tirelessly to trace the origins of the mysterious tracking device. Karen and Frank sat in the detective's office, anxiously awaiting the results. After what felt like an eternity, the detective returned, a somber expression on his face. "We've managed to trace the device back to its source," he said, settling into his chair. "And I'm afraid the news isn't good." Karen felt her heart sink. "Oh no. What did you find?" The detective let out a heavy sigh. The tracker was purchased online through a third-party seller. Unfortunately, the seller used a false identity and bogus payment information, so we have no way to trace it back to the actual buyer. "What?" Karen exclaimed, her voice rising in panic. "So you're telling me you can't find out who sent this to me?" The detective held up a hand, trying to calm her. Now, hold on. We're not giving up that easily. We've got forensics teams combing through the package and the device itself, looking for any other clues. And we're also checking local security camera footage to see if we can spot whoever dropped it off at your house. Frank placed a reassuring hand on Karen's arm. "See, they're doing everything they can. We'll get to the bottom of this, I promise." Karen took a shaky breath, trying to steady her nerves. Okay. What else can I do to help?" The detective leaned forward, his expression serious. "Well, the first thing I'd recommend is that you increase your home security. Consider getting some additional cameras or a more robust alarm system. And be on the lookout for any suspicious activity around your property." Karen nodded, her mind racing. "I can do that. What else?" "Also, I'd like you to keep a detailed log of any other strange occurrences or potential harassment," the detective continued. "Anything out of the ordinary, no matter how small, could be a crucial clue." "Got it," Karen said, already mentally preparing her notebook. The detective paused, his gaze laden with concern. "And I have to ask, is there anyone, even a distant acquaintance or former friend, who might have a grudge against you? Someone who might want to retaliate or get back at you for some reason?" Karen's brow furrowed as she contemplated the question. "Well, there is that one neighbor of mine, Brenda. We've had some issues in the past. And then there's the whole HOA debacle from last year." The detective nodded thoughtfully. "Okay, we'll look into those angles as well. In the meantime, I want you to stay vigilant and let us know immediately if you notice anything else suspicious." Karen straightened her shoulders, her expression hardening with determination. "I will. And you can bet I'll be doing my own investigating too. No one messes with Karen Carla Fitzpatrick and gets away with it." The detective cracked a wry smile. "I'd admire your spirit, ma'am. Just be careful, all right. We don't want you getting in over your head." As they left the station, Karen felt a renewed sense of purpose. Whoever was behind this was going to regret the day they crossed her. She was going to get to the bottom of this, no matter what it took. Over the next few days, Karen's life became a whirlwind of activity as she worked tirelessly to secure her home and investigate the tracking device mystery. First, she called in a team of security experts to install a top-of-the-line alarm system, complete with motion-activated cameras that would monitor every inch of her property. She spared no expense, determined to leave no blind spots for her would-be stalker. Next, she turned her attention to her neighbors, starting with the troublesome Brenda. Marching over to the woman's immaculate lawn, Karen confronted her, her eyes narrowed in suspicion. "Brenda, I need to ask you a few questions," she began, her voice dripping with saccharine sweetness. Brenda eyed her warily. "What is it now, Karen?" "Well, it seems I've been the victim of some rather unpleasant harassment," Karen continued, her lips curling into a tight smile. "And I can't help but wonder if you might know anything about it." Brenda's brow furrowed in confusion. "Harassment? What are you talking about?" Karen leaned in, her voice lowering to a conspiratorial whisper. Someone has been tracking my movements, Brenda, sending me mysterious packages with hidden GPS devices. And I can't help but notice that you've been rather agitated with me lately. Brenda's eyes widened in shock. What? You think I had something to do with that? Karen, I can assure you, I have no idea what you're talking about. Karen studied her face intently, searching for any signs of deception. Well, I certainly hope that's the case, Brenda. Because if I find out you're involved in this in any way, shape, or form, I can assure you that the consequences will be severe. With that, she turned on her heel and strode back to her own perfectly manicured lawn, leaving a bewildered Brenda in her wake. As the days passed, Karen continued her investigation, grilling the other neighbors and combing through security footage from the surrounding area. But try as she might, she couldn't find any solid leads. The mystery of the tracking device remained frustratingly unsolved. Finally, in a last-ditch effort, she reached out to her old friend Frank once more. Frank, I'm at my wit's end here, she confessed, her voice tinged with desperation. The police haven't been able to find anything, and I'm starting to feel like I'm going crazy. Frank's voice was calm and reassuring on the other end of the line. Hey, don't worry, Karen. We're going to get to the bottom of this, I promise. Why don't you come over to my place tonight? We can brainstorm some new ideas, see if we can't uncover something the cops missed. Karen let out a shaky breath. Okay, yes, that sounds good. I'll be there as soon as I can. As she hung up the phone, Karen felt a glimmer of hope amidst the uncertainty. With Frank's help, maybe she could finally put an end to this nightmare and regain the peace of mind she so desperately craved. That evening, Karen arrived at Frank's cozy apartment, her nerves on edge. She had spent the entire drive over rehearsing what she would say, determined to leave no stone unturned in her quest to uncover the truth. As Frank ushered her inside, he could see the tension written all over her face. Hey, take a deep breath, Karen, he said gently, guiding her to the living room. I know this has been a nightmare, but we're going to figure this out, I promise. Karen nodded, settling into a plush armchair. I know. I'm so tired of feeling like I'm being watched, Like I can't even feel safe in my own home. Frank pulled up a chair across from her, his expression sympathetic. I get it, I really do. That's why we're going to get to the bottom of this, no matter what it takes. Reaching into his pocket, he produced a small, foil-wrapped object. I've been doing some digging of my own, actually. Managed to get my hands on that tracker you gave the cops. Karen's eyes widened. You what? How did you? Frank held up a hand, silencing her. Relax, I have a friend over at the station who was willing to let me take another look at it. I figured we might find something they missed. Karen leaned forward, her gaze locked on the device. And? Did you find anything? Frank unwrapped the foil, revealing the small tracker. Well, the good news is, it's not transmitting any kind of signal right now. Looks like the cops managed to shut it down. Karen let out a relieved sigh. Thank goodness. So what's the bad news? Frank's expression turned serious. The bad news is, there's no indication of who sent it or why. It's a dead end. Karen's shoulders slumped in defeat. I was afraid of that. So what now? Are we back to square one? Frank shook his head. Not necessarily. I've been thinking about this, and I have an idea. What if we stage another incident? Karen's brow furrowed in confusion. What do you mean, stage an incident? Hear me out, Frank said, leaning forward. What if we plant another package with a new tracker inside and see who comes sniffing around? Karen's eyes widened. You mean like a trap? Frank nodded. Exactly. We set the bait, and then we wait to see who takes the bite. Maybe that'll give us the clue we need to track down the culprit. Karen considered the idea, her mind racing. That actually might work. But won't the police have a problem with us doing something like that? Frank grinned. Leave the cops to me. I've got a guy who can help us out without them knowing. Karen felt a surge of hope. Okay, let's do it. I'm in. As the two friends began hashing out the details of their plan, Karen felt a renewed sense of determination. This was her chance to take back control, to put an end to the harassment once and for all. She was going to get to the bottom of this, even if it meant setting a trap of her own. The next day, Karen and Frank put their plan into action. Under the guise of another missing package, they arranged for a plain, nondescript box to be delivered to Karen's doorstep, this time containing a freshly purchased GPS tracker. As Karen waited anxiously by the front window, the familiar same-day courier van pulled up, and the young delivery man stepped out, clipboard in hand. Mrs. Fitzpatrick, he called, approaching the door. Karen took a deep breath and opened the door, pasting on her most convincing smile. Yes, that's me. Do you have a package for me? The courier nodded, handing her the box. Yes, ma'am. Just needs your signature right here. Karen quickly scribbled her name and accepted the package, her heart pounding. Thank you, young man. Have a wonderful day. As the courier headed back to his van, Karen rushed inside, clutching the box tightly. Hurrying to the kitchen, she carefully opened it, revealing the new GPS tracker nestled among the packing materials. Showtime, she murmured, her expression hardening with determination. Carefully placing the device on the kitchen counter, Karen proceeded to set up a hidden camera, angled to capture the entire area. If someone came snooping around, she would be ready. The rest of the day passed in a tense blur, with Karen constantly checking the camera feed, her nerves fraying with each passing hour. But as the sun began to set, movement on the screen finally caught her eye. There, creeping cautiously across her lawn, was a familiar figure. Brenda, her neighbor from down the street. Karen watched with bated breath as Brenda approached the front door, her gaze darting back and forth. Glancing around furtively, she reached for the package, her fingers closing around the GPS tracker. Suddenly, the front door burst open, and Karen strode out, her face twisted in fury. Brenda, what do you think you're doing? She shouted, startling the other woman. Brenda whirled around, the tracker clutched in her hand. Karen? This isn't what it looks like. Oh, I think it is exactly what it looks like. Karen advanced on her, her finger jabbing accusingly. You've been stalking me, haven't you? Sending me the tracking device in the first place. Brenda took a step back, her expression panicked. No, I swear. I didn't send you anything. I was just. Just what, Brenda? Trying to cover your tracks? Karen's voice dripped with malice. Well, I've got news for you. I'm not going to let you get away with this. As Brenda stood there, trembling, the sound of sirens suddenly filled the air. Karen smiled triumphantly as a police car pulled up to the curb, its lights flashing. That's my cue, she said, her voice dripping with satisfaction. Enjoy your stay in jail, Brenda. As the officers swarmed in to arrest Brenda, Karen watched with a sense of vindication. Finally, she had unmasked the culprit and put an end to this ordeal. No one messed with Karen Carla Fitzpatrick and got away with it. In the aftermath of Brenda's arrest, Karen felt a profound sense of relief wash over her. The weight of the past few weeks had been crushing, but now, with the stalker caught, she could finally breathe easy. As the police officers escorted a distraught Brenda to the waiting patrol car, Karen couldn't help but feel a twinge of satisfaction. She had been right all along. Her neighbor had been the one behind the tracking device, and now she was facing the consequences of her actions. Ma'am, we'll need you to come down to the station and provide a full statement, one of the officers said, approaching Karen. Karen nodded, her chin held high. Of course, officer. I'll be more than happy to cooperate. anything to ensure that justice is served. As she followed the officer to his car, Karen glanced back at the scene, her gaze locking with Brenda's. The other woman's eyes were filled with a mixture of fear and desperation, but Karen felt no sympathy. She had brought this upon herself. At the police station, Karen recounted the entire sequence of events, leaving no detail unspoken. The detective who had originally taken her report listened intently, nodding at various points. "This is excellent work, Mrs. Fitzpatrick," he said, once she had finished. "You and your friend really went the extra mile to catch the culprit." Karen allowed herself a small smile. "Well, when someone tries to invade my privacy and harass me in my own home, I don't take it lightly. I'm just glad we were able to put an end to it." The detective leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. "I have to say, I'm impressed by your tenacity. Most people in your situation would have simply given up or let the police handle it. But you took matters into your own hands, and it paid off." Karen's smile widened. "What can I say? I'm not one to back down from a challenge. And when it comes to protecting my home and my way of life, I won't hesitate to do whatever it takes." The detective chuckled. "I can certainly see that. Well, I'll make sure to commend your efforts to my superiors. And of course, we'll be pressing charges against Brenda for the stalking and harassment." "Excellent," Karen said, her tone triumphant. "I hope she enjoys her time behind bars. It's the least she deserves for what she's put me through." As she left the police station, Karen couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and accomplishment. She had refused to be a victim, and in the end, she had emerged victorious. No more would she have to worry about being watched or monitored in her own home. Climbing into her car, Karen glanced up at the security cameras she had installed just days earlier. They stood as a testament to her determination, a visible reminder that she was in control of her own life. With a deep breath, she started the engine and headed home, her mind already turning to the next challenge she would face. After all, being Karen Carla Fitzpatrick was never a dull affair.